Behind the glittering surface of Hollywood, with its fairy tale weddings and glamorous romances, lurks a reality far darker than the flashing cameras suggest. Time and again, stars who appeared to have it all chose partners who brought them heartbreak, betrayal, and sometimes even danger. Their ceremonies were covered by glossy magazines, their honeymoons chased by paparazzi, and their every smile broadcast to millions. Yet the truth, whispered in back rooms and splashed across tabloid covers, was often filled with tears, screaming arguments, or chilling silence. Some marriages lasted mere hours before collapsing, while others dragged on for decades in quiet misery. What unites them is the way they reveal the fragility of love under the harsh spotlight of fame. In this video, we'll dive into 27 Hollywood stars who chose the wrong spouse to marry and explore the scandals, heartbreaks, and cautionary tales they left behind. As you listen, think about how these choices shaped not only private lives, but also public legacies. Britney Spears' marriage to Jason Alexander became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. In 2004, she married her childhood friend in Las Vegas for just 55 hours before an annulment. The relationship quickly spiraled into turmoil, with tabloids feasting on every twist and fans left stunned. Careers faltered, reputations suffered, and private struggles were magnified into public spectacle. Behind the flashing cameras were broken promises, legal battles, and emotional scars that would linger for years. This marriage became a lasting symbol of how even the most glamorous couples can unravel under pressure, and how choices in love, when made in haste or blindness, can echo through an entire career. For the star involved, it was more than heartbreak. It was a turning point that shaped the way the world would remember them. Kim Kardashian's marriage to Kris Humphries became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their lavish $10 million wedding was televised, but the marriage collapsed after just 72 days. What began with promise soon collapsed into chaos. The relationship unraveled in full view of the world, while tabloids eagerly devoured each shocking turn. Fans watched in disbelief as once shining careers lost their footing, reputations cracked, and private wounds were dragged into the merciless spotlight of public entertainment. Beneath the glitter of the red carpet lay betrayal, lawsuits, and wounds that never fully healed. This marriage became proof that fame doesn't shield anyone from collapse, and for the star, it was a heartbreak that forever marked their legacy. Jennifer Lopez's marriage to Johnny Noah became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Her first marriage ended bitterly, with Johnny later attempting to profit by releasing private footage. The romance descended into disaster faster than anyone could have predicted. With every argument and betrayal splashed across magazine covers, the couple became unwilling performers in their own tragedy. Careers stalled, reputations crumbled, and deeply personal struggles were transformed into the kind of spectacle tabloids thrive on endlessly. What the cameras captured was beauty. What they missed were the shattered vows, bitter courts, and emotional wreckage. That union remains a warning that love rushed in Hollywood can cost a lifetime of reputation. Charlie Sheen's marriage to Denise Richards became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Allegations of substance abuse and threats unraveled their relationship despite early happiness. Within months, the glamorous facade gave way to turmoil. Paparazzi and gossip outlets swarmed, documenting each misstep like a sport. Fans looked on in shock. Careers wavered under the weight of scandal, and wounds meant to be private were put on display, magnified into headlines that could not be ignored. Behind every perfect photo was a storm of arguments, filings, and regret. This marriage didn't just end. It branded the star with a cautionary tale that defined their career. But impulsive ceremonies weren't the only disasters. Some stars spent years trapped in relationships defined by power and control. Madonna's marriage to Sean Penn became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their volatile 1980s marriage was marked by jealous fights and police interventions. At first, it looked like a dream pairing, but soon the cracks widened into chaos. Tabloids pounced on every rumor, blowing small moments into scandals. Careers faltered, reputations took blow after blow, and the couple's most private struggles became a source of public consumption, replayed endlessly for curious audiences worldwide. The glossy smiles hid the chaos. Legal fights, sleepless nights, and private despair. For the world, this marriage symbolized fragility. For the star, it was a crossroads they could never walk back from. Elizabeth Taylor's marriage to Richard Burton became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. They married twice and divorced twice, with passion turning toxic under public scrutiny. The love story spiraled downward almost immediately, leaving devastation in its wake. Every fight or whispered betrayal was seized upon by gossip columns eager for drama. Fans were left disillusioned. Careers took damaging hits. reputations suffered irreparably, and intimate struggles were magnified into sensational stories for the entire world to consume. What looked like a fairy tale on magazine covers became a saga of broken trust and public humiliation. The fallout left scars on both the heart and the career of the celebrity involved. Mel Gibson's marriage to Oksana Grigorieva became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Leaked recordings revealed terrifying threats that destroyed Gibson's reputation. Quickly, the relationship became less a romance than a circus. Tabloids hovered like vultures, twisting each moment into fresh scandal. What had seemed unshakable glamour transformed into fractured reputations, professional setbacks, and humiliating exposure. What should have remained behind closed doors instead became a spectacle played out on the world stage. Behind the velvet ropes lingered misery. The relationship became a spectacle of courtrooms and tabloids, and its shadow shaped how fans would speak of the star for decades. Chris Brown's marriage to Rihanna became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their relationship ended in a global scandal after a shocking assault in 2009. The once bright union collapsed at alarming speed. Every misstep and argument was captured, exaggerated, and dissected by gossip outlets hungry for content. Fans were left shocked, careers derailed, reputations bruised beyond repair, and private battles became public fodder, creating a spectacle as dramatic as any Hollywood script could imagine. Beneath the diamonds and designer gowns was only bitterness. That marriage became a haunting reminder that fast love often leaves permanent cracks. Johnny Depp's marriage to Amber Heard became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their union dissolved into lawsuits, mutual abuse claims, and a televised trial. The cracks widened quickly, spiraling into complete turmoil. Each headline made the drama bigger, tabloids documenting every stumble as if it were breaking news. Careers began to lose momentum, reputations were questioned, and what should have remained behind closed doors became a never-ending public theater, shocking fans across the globe. The world cheered the wedding, but no one saw the screaming arguments and lawyers waiting in the wings. For the star, the collapse was both personal ruin and public branding. Yet infidelity may be Hollywood's most common curse, and for many stars, betrayal by a spouse played out in front of the whole world. Sandra Bullock's marriage to Jesse James became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Her Oscar win was overshadowed when multiple affairs by Jesse surfaced. Far from a fairy tale, the romance swiftly became a cautionary tale. The press thrived on every argument, betrayal, and rumor, turning their lives into serialized entertainment. Fans watched in disbelief as once golden careers dimmed, reputations suffered lasting harm, and private anguish was paraded before millions as front-page spectacle. Cameras flashed on their smiles while pain brewed backstage. The marriage unraveled spectacularly, leaving behind scars that redefined the star's identity. Tiger Woods' marriage to Elin Nordegren became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. His serial infidelities led to divorce and the loss of sponsors worldwide. Within what felt like moments, the glamorous pairing dissolved into relentless chaos. Gossip outlets eagerly documented every disagreement and stumble, creating a feeding frenzy. Fans who once adored the couple were stunned as careers lost direction, reputations eroded, and intensely personal struggles became oversized dramas amplified for public amusement. It began with champagne toasts and confetti. It ended with subpoenas and whispered pity. The damage outlived the romance and reshaped a career. Arnold Schwarzenegger's marriage to Maria Shriver became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. A secret child with the housekeeper ended their 25-year marriage. The relationship that began with hope deteriorated into scandal. Tabloids thrived on the turmoil, transforming missteps into major news. Admirers who once rooted for their happiness could only watch as careers wavered, reputations cracked, and intimate challenges became grotesquely magnified into storylines consumed by millions eager for another headline. Outwardly golden, inwardly rotten, the marriage became a symbol of Hollywood's cruel irony, where the spotlight exposes every fracture. Jesse James's marriage to Sandra Bullock became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. His repeated infidelities cemented him as one of Hollywood's worst husbands. In no time, the partnership descended into public chaos. Every fight and misstep was packaged into juicy headlines, consumed eagerly by tabloids. For fans, it was heartbreaking. For the stars, devastating. Careers stumbled, reputations suffered, and personal wounds became larger-than-life dramas that played out on the unforgiving stage of fame. The aisle was covered in roses, but the years that followed were paved with regret. The story became a tragic benchmark for stardom under pressure. Tori Spelling's marriage to Dean McDermott became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Cheating scandals and addiction issues turned their reality show romance sour. Instead of bliss, turmoil took over. The relationship collapsed under constant scrutiny, with tabloids documenting every twist and turn. Fans were stunned, careers derailed, reputations tarnished, and heartbreak meant for the private realm was turned into spectacle, leaving the couple powerless to control their own narrative in the public eye. Every headline once called them perfect, until reality revealed betrayals and lawsuits. The wounds became part of the star's enduring story. For others, the pain wasn't about cheating, but about violence, addiction, or the dangerous choices of the partners they trusted. Pamela Anderson's marriage to Tommy Lee became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. A whirlwind marriage spiraled into violence and an infamous leaked tape. Promises of forever soon gave way to fights, betrayals, and chaos. Each new conflict became a headline, tabloids eagerly replaying every detail. What was once a golden image cracked wide open. Careers faltered, reputations fell, and struggles that should have remained personal became the property of an insatiable global audience. It glittered in public, but crumbled in private. What seemed eternal dissolved into one of Hollywood's most unforgettable cautionary tales. Anna Nicole Smith's marriage to J. Howard Marshall became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. At 26, she wed the 87-year-old billionaire, sparking endless legal battles. The love that once captured headlines for its glamour devolved into a media circus. Paparazzi and tabloids documented the decline like a daily soap opera. Fans reacted with disbelief as careers lost traction, reputations soured, and personal tragedies, once private, were magnified beyond recognition for the entertainment of the masses. On screen, it was romance. Off screen, it was war. The fallout turned the marriage into an emblem of how fragile fame-fueled love can be. Lana Turner's marriage to Johnny Stompanato became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Her mobster boyfriend was fatally stabbed by her daughter during a fight. It didn't take long for the shine to fade. What was hailed as romance quickly turned into chaos. Tabloids amplified every misstep, turning private conflict into public scandal. Careers endured serious setbacks, reputations became fragile, and the couple's pain, once theirs alone, was sensationalized and consumed as spectacle by millions. The wedding bells rang loudly, but the echoes carried only sorrow. For the star, this wasn't just heartbreak, it was an irreversible shift. Zsa Gabor's marriage to Frederick Prince von Anhalt became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their marriage drew suspicion he sought fame and fortune, not love. Almost overnight, the dream pairing disintegrated. Arguments became headlines, betrayals turned into tabloid fodder, and every stumble was exaggerated. Fans were stunned to see careers collapse and reputations suffer, while deeply personal hardships, meant to stay private, were dragged mercilessly into the spotlight for the world to scrutinize and devour. From a distance, they sparkled. Up close, they shattered. The marriage became a headline-making collapse that forever haunted the celebrity's career. And sometimes, love looked less like passion and more like a business contract. Marriages where money and fame seemed to matter more than affection. Heather Mills' marriage to Paul McCartney became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their bitter divorce ended with her receiving nearly $50 million. The romance spiraled into wreckage faster than anyone imagined. Tabloids hungrily fed on its unraveling, spinning minor troubles into epic scandals. Fans who once admired them were left disappointed, while careers stalled, reputations cracked under pressure, and the most private struggles were transformed into a drama replayed on every screen. Their happily ever after barely survived the honeymoon. The scars it left showed that not even icons are immune to ruin. Kevin Federline's marriage to Britney Spears became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. He left his pregnant girlfriend for Britney, and the marriage collapsed quickly. Glamour vanished quickly, replaced by turmoil and betrayal. The press seized every detail, broadcasting it as if it were breaking news. Admirers who once adored the couple were stunned as careers faltered, reputations lost ground, and pain that belonged behind closed doors was sensationalized into an unending parade of spectacle. For the world, they embodied glamour. For each other, they embodied regret. The marriage became a story whispered with pity, not envy. Courtney Love's marriage to Kurt Cobain became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their bond was plagued by drugs and dysfunction before his tragic death. The cracks in the relationship didn't stay hidden long. Tabloids uncovered and exaggerated every twist, creating a feeding frenzy of scandal. Fans looked on in disbelief as careers began to stumble, Reputations suffered irreversible harm, and struggles that should have been private became the raw material for a relentless public drama. The cameras celebrated perfection. Reality uncovered torment. The collapse reshaped not just their love life, but their professional destiny. Mariah Carey's marriage to Tommy Mottola became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. She described living in a gilded prison under his controlling influence. Hopeful beginnings gave way to bitter endings. The romance collapsed under the weight of gossip, each twist magnified by relentless tabloids. Fans grew disillusioned. Careers stumbled into uncertainty. Reputations suffered long-lasting wounds, and what should have been personal heartbreak was instead transformed into a media spectacle replayed for endless audiences. Behind the gowns and gold rings lay disillusionment. That marriage turned into the star's greatest personal and professional undoing. Finally, even the most glamorous couples, the ones fans believed were untouchable, discovered that not even fairy tales survive under the glare of Hollywood's lights. Whitney Houston's marriage to Bobby Brown became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Drugs and violence destroyed what began as a storybook romance. Within months, the couple went from celebrated to scrutinized. Tabloids documented the chaos with ruthless efficiency, each article fueling more speculation. Careers slowed, reputations weakened, and the kind of heartbreak that should have remained private was magnified into a scandal so large it threatened to overshadow every professional accomplishment. Paparazzi immortalized their smiles, but history remembered the wreckage. The relationship became one of Hollywood's sharpest reminders of love's dangers. Halle Berry's marriage to David Justice became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. She revealed suffering hearing loss from an abusive relationship. What began with applause ended in humiliation. The relationship unraveled before millions, tabloids dramatizing every turn. Fans expressed shock as once promising careers stumbled and reputations bore deep scars. Behind closed doors, struggles grew unbearable. Yet in public, they became fodder for gossip, cementing the union as a lasting spectacle. What looked eternal proved fragile. The marriage collapsed, leaving behind both emotional rubble and a permanent change in public perception. Mel B's marriage to Stephen Belafonte became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. She accused him of years of abuse, financial control, and manipulation. The dream pairing soured rapidly. Each misstep became tabloid gold, repeated until it seemed endless. Admirers were left shocked as once steady careers faltered and reputations cracked under scrutiny. Private anguish was stretched into public entertainment. The couple's suffering magnified into one of the era's most unforgettable cautionary tales of love. For one shining moment, it seemed untouchable, but the aftermath left a scar the star carried into every role and headline thereafter. Reese Witherspoon's marriage to unnamed partner became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. She admitted enduring emotional abuse early in her career. The glamorous facade collapsed, replaced by chaos and spectacle. Tabloids thrived on the drama, producing endless stories from every twist. Fans who once celebrated the couple were left disappointed. As careers stumbled badly, reputations suffered permanent damage, and intensely personal heartbreak became magnified into a narrative that defined their downfall. They promised forever under flashing lights, but forever unraveled into a tale of heartache, courts, and careers rewritten. Angelina Jolie's marriage to Brad Pitt became one of Hollywood's most talked about unions. Their split followed an alleged airplane altercation and bitter custody battle. What looked picture-perfect on red carpets soon fell apart. Gossip outlets swarmed, turning every whisper into scandal. Fans were stunned by the collapse, careers hit sudden turbulence, and reputations suffered. The couple's most intimate battles were magnified for the world's entertainment, leaving their lives consumed by a merciless public spotlight. The ceremony was a spectacle, the aftermath, a wound. This marriage etched itself into history as both a love story gone wrong and a turning point. From impulsive Vegas ceremonies to toxic marriages built on control and betrayal, these 27 stories prove that even the brightest stars can make disastrous choices in love. What makes them so gripping is not only the scandal, but the reminder that wealth, talent, and fame cannot shield anyone from heartbreak. If anything, the spotlight magnifies every mistake, broadcasting private pain to millions of strangers. Some of these stars rebuilt their lives, finding healthier relationships and reclaiming their careers. Others remain forever tied to the chaos of their unions, their names etched into Hollywood history as cautionary examples. For viewers, these stories captivate because they mirror the same mistakes made by ordinary people, only magnified, amplified, and immortalized by fame. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Do you believe celebrity marriages are doomed by nature? Or are they simply human errors magnified by the public eye? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more untold Hollywood tales. Because in show business, the drama never truly ends, and sometimes the biggest heartbreaks happen off-screen.